like to call the Charter Review Commission meeting of May 23rd to order. Roll call.
Balmer.
Here.
Craig. Here. Deeth.
Here.
Denning. DeRue. Here. Hayek.
Here.
Kuchera.
Here.
Maliabu. Here. Patel.
Item number 2 on the agenda is to adopt draft minutes as presented or amended. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Craig, seconded by Deeth. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just have one minor typo on the last page, fourth line down, where it says Vice Chair Kuchera asked if the city, there's just a S that found its way in there after the word "the."
I saw that too. I wasn't sure.
Anyway,
We'll make sure we make that correction.
awesome.
So noted.
Great, they're great minutes.
They are. They're very thorough. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3 is a motion to accept correspondence. We have 2 pieces of correspondence. One was just given us today by Rod Sullivan, and then, of course, Commissioner Hayek presented us with correspondence also, so I would move to entertain a motion to accept that correspondence, please.
So moved.
Moved by Deeth, seconded by Maliabu. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 4 is to review the city charter, Article 2, and this specifically relates to the section on the mayor. We've had certainly a fair amount of input on that and discussion from various individuals that have spoken to each one of us, I think, at one point or another. So at this time, I think what we will not make any, just like last week, we will not make any decisions at this point until we have a full commission slate here, and hopefully that will happen next month, that we'll have the opportunity to finally arrive at some consensus as we build up towards our final product. Mr. Hayek, would you like to lead us with this? Your correspondence was very well done, and as a former mayor, I appreciated your comments.
Well, thanks. I haven't weighed in on anything yet in this process, but on this particular topic, I decided to kind of get my thoughts out there to the commission, and they're simply based on my experience down here, both as a commissioner on some council-appointed commissions, and then my time at City Hall, both as a regular councilor and as a mayor, and then having left the office 8 years ago, I guess, having had time to reflect on it. I can answer questions regarding my memo. Let me just say that I feel pretty strongly about this, and and I'm advocating for maintenance, or I would advocate for maintenance of what we've got, even though when I was mayor, I think I would have enjoyed more authority because it would have, certainly made it more convenient or easy for me to accomplish things that I wanted to accomplish. But despite that temptation, I think the system we have makes sense. I think it creates a stronger council as a whole. And I think true representation of the interests of the public should come via a majority of the council. I think that is most closely aligned with what's best for the entire public, because you have more input and you have less power vested in a single individual. So I don't come to these conclusions lightly, and I've given it a lot of thought, and I gave a lot of thought to the memo that I prepared and submitted to the commissioner. So I'd be happy to answer questions.
Any questions? I thought they were very thoughtful comments, and as a former mayor, I appreciated what you had to say. I know from my own perspective, having had the opportunity and privilege to serve on the council and be mayor for 2 years, it's a position that you take very seriously, that you want to do everything that is right for the community and certainly for you want to lead the council, and you want to certainly have the body working together. I think it provides stability for the city, especially for the staff. I think that having a council that works well and having mayoral leadership is very important. And I know from my own perspective, when I first was elected in 1975, that was the first 7-person council, and I can imagine what it would have been like if we'd have had direct election of mayor. I think it could have been really all over the place. I think at the time, we were fortunate to have chosen Mary Newhouser as our mayor, and she'd been on the council previously. She was one of the 2 holdovers from the 5-person council, and I think it set the tone and the pattern going forward. And we've been very fortunate ever since then to have some very fine people in that position. People that represent the community well, and that certainly have led us for 50 years in a very, very positive manner.
You know, I would also say that, and I mentioned this in my memo, that a lot of communities where the mayor is directly elected, the mayor is non-voting. And it's not right, it's not wrong. It's just a different system. I think it's better to have mayors vote. I think, and I mentioned this in the memo, first of all, they possess at least as much information as everybody else on the council, and typically more, because you have to be sort of a half step ahead of everyone to be able to run a meeting. But I think it's good for accountability, because it doesn't let that elected position off the hook in terms of taking a position for or against a measure. It's easier, I think, to not have to vote on something and kind of be on both sides of it and enjoy the limelight, but not have to suffer the heat, so to speak. And it equalizes all 7 of the individuals on the council if all 7 of them have an equal vote on a measure. I've always found that to be a positive thing, and I would hope we would maintain it.
Any other comments?
I've thought about this a lot because, again, when people hear you're on the Charter Commission, they say, get rid of those district voting things, that's crazy, and elect a mayor. And, I've been hearing that for 40 years, and I don't know. On one hand, I understand why people think it's a good thing. That then the people get to choose the leader. But then I think the people are choosing the 7 council members, and we know one of them is going to be the mayor. And, I read something somewhere about why then we could have a mayor for 4 years. I don't want a mayor for 4 years. I like the idea that every 2 years you get to change things if that is.
Yeah, Coralville has a
good.
4-year council term, but a 2-year mayor term, and some of the other cities do as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want a 4-year mayor. And I also think, electing a mayor is, this is not certainly the same, but in my mind, is like, okay, we elect the president, but the Speaker of the House is elected by the House of Representatives. And, and sometimes that works.
Not lately. Are you referencing anything? Oh, okay.
No, I'm not. But I feel, again, I've talked a lot about how I feel one of my big priorities is that the council is working to do what's best for all people in the city. And I don't want them spending their time fighting with each other about something. Yes, there's going to be winners and losers, and there's going to be issues that go away, and in this town, they'll come back up in 2 years or 10 years or whatever. So right now, I'm leaning toward a council-elected mayor.
Molly Abu, what would you say?
For me, I think I'll kind of agree with you a little bit. Some people will say, get rid of those district voting, but I also see both sides. I'll agree with her to say I want a mayor for 2 years, not 4 years, because it gives somebody else an opportunity to see somebody else serve as a mayor and see how they can help the city. So 2 years is good for me. But also, I feel like having council elect a mayor, sometimes it could be, I'm just giving an example, they don't want to be because there's a lot of work to do, so nobody in the city council want to be part of it or become a mayor. Not because that they want to serve the city, but there's a lot of work or there's a lot of pressure as a mayor to make this decision, so they don't want to. So what's the purpose or what's the point of serving as a council member if you don't want to take that lead as well to see what to do? But I'll agree with what you're saying for the 2 years for mayor and just switch up. But for the district, I'm a little, I was reading more about it. I took a lot of notes, the 4 years at large and the 3 years district. I think sometimes when you elect everybody is good, but then if somebody's already focused in this district, they know exactly what they want or what's going on in that district, and people trust that person. So for me, I don't know, what's the people want is what I should be wanting, not what Bijou wants personally.
Okay. John?
All right, Matt makes a very good case for the kind of person who should be elected mayor, but I think ultimately that choice should go to the public rather than to the council. I like the idea of a shorter term for mayor, and I also like the idea of the mayor being a voting member of the council. I know that I've talked to mayors of other cities who've occasionally had some frustration at not being able to vote or not, being able to take a stand in that way. So perhaps one of the at-large seats could be converted to a mayor's seat and then be on a 2-year cycle, and then the other at-large seats be on a similar, the 4-year cycle to the way they are now. But it is a good case for the kind of person who should be the mayor.
Mackenzie?
I would agree with a lot of the sentiments shared. Certainly when people found out I was serving on charter, it was probably the top question. I was like, why don't we directly elect a mayor? But I think from what I'm hearing, it doesn't sound like there is a strong desire to change how the mayor functions, to create a more powerful mayor. I mean, really the idea of having somebody perhaps on a 2-year term who is a consensus builder, who can effectively run the meetings. And so given that it seems that the current structure has cultivated that type of person, I would have a pretty high bar for changing it. The structure. Not to say I couldn't, as conversations or public input comes in, but I would say right now I would be leaning towards council-selected mayor.
Molly?
So, our job as we've discussed a lot as a charter is to really look and see what's best for the city. So I do think as times have changed, we need to really think if it is good and best for the city to have a city-elected mayor. And maybe it would be similar to Corribo, where it's a non-voting member. And some would say, as we've talked about, how that could be, you would not have a vote, right? So that could be frustrating at times, but you still have a voice, very much a voice. And I think that might be better for our community. The mayor really does serve in a lot of roles right now, especially going through 2020 and all the things we did. We really saw how the mayor stepped up. And we continue to see that, as you guys know that have served, it does become a full-time job. And not everybody has the ability to do that as a full-time job when it is voted by the council. I'd like us to look into it more.
The thing I would mention is that I'm like Matt. I would not like to have the mayor not be a voting member. I think the mayor should have a vote. To me, it's important. And in our system with council manager, if the council's doing their job properly, it doesn't have to be a full-time job. Certainly, it takes more time. I will grant you that. But when you have a professional staff that you're giving the direction to and making the policy, then that's up to the professional staff to institute it. So, yes, you're right. It does take more time, but I think under the present system, it's functioned very well, actually. Now, as far as the terms for mayor, they are 2 years, but often, and Matt will acknowledge this, he was mayor more than 2 years. It just depends on what the council desires. When I was on the council, I was only thinking I would do it for 2 years, and that was fine with me because I felt it should be rotated if there were people that were capable of handling it and that wanted to handle it. That's the way I looked at it. Now, sometimes you have a council that can be pretty disparate, and you need that same person again to come through and do it for another 2 years.
Yeah, I don't care if people serve more than one term.
Right.
I just care that every 2 years, there's a conversation about it.
I would agree.
Quite a while, that was
Yeah.
kind of a tradition, almost like the chair of the supervisors, where the mayors would do
Right.
two and done, and maybe then do another rotation later on. I'm thinking that if the public is choosing the mayor, they might choose similar mayors to the ones we've chosen. I just had to look you up, John, but it looks like you were the top vote getter in '79. Matt, I know you were the top vote getter both of the times you ran for council. So I think that the voters and the council might not be as far off base as people might expect.
That's a good point.
That is a good point, but I would tell you, I probably, if the mayor was directly elected, I wouldn't have run for the mayor, probably. That's just my own thought on it. I mean, once I was on for the council for 2 years, then I was very comfortable with the fact of, if given the opportunity, I would certainly like to do it, and I did do it, and was privileged to do it. So I think having that, like Matt said, having that experience of being on the council really does set you up very nicely to sit in that middle chair and be the leader, so.
Yeah, I think it's great. Well, like, I also want to correct that 2 years, but then they can be reelected again. I feel like if they reelect somebody, that means they're doing something great. And
True.
it's good, but I just also feel like they're serving the public, so I think the people should have a say on, with not the experience that I have, but from what I hear and what I know is some people might not want to be mayor, and maybe, like you say, you would not have run. Is that what you said?
I wouldn't have run for mayor.
Right, so if somebody keeps the city council electing you because they feel like you can, maybe they don't want to allow the people to have that vote to elect whoever they feel like should be running the city.
I look at it that I'm possibly, when I'm voting, I may be voting for the mayor too, on the council, so that gives me more opportunities.
You know, on the issue of time commitment, there are certainly moments in our history when being mayor has been more like a full-time job. 2020 was one of them. The floods of 2008 was another example. And there are other episodes in our history. But I don't think whether you're directly elected or elected from within the council, like our current system, matters as relates to one's ability to put the time in for mayor. I think anyone who steps up and seeks that office knows that there will be times when it's way more intense than usual. I know I felt that way. And the obligations when I was in office, went up and down depending on the season, and depending on what was going on in the community. So, no one should put their hat in the ring for that position without knowing in advance that there may be times when the demands on you are really heavy. And you also have to think about the mayor pro tem, who needs to be somebody who is basically equally available and can fill in the absence of the mayor.
Good point. Any other discussion? We'll certainly take this up at our next meeting when we have a full complement of commission members. Okay?
I think we need to keep engaging in the public. Like I said, it's our responsibility as a as a charter, to really be asking the public, what do they think? Because what does our community need? And yes, I appreciate that both of you have served in the mayoral position and have a great perspective, but I still think we need to find out from our community, what do they
Sure.
think is best for our city? So, and that's our responsibility. That's what I'm saying. We need to look at the charter and see what is it that we need to change? What does our community think we need? So.
And this is a topic that has been discussed at every charter review committee. It is, I've looked back at all of them, and you're right. And it's a healthy discussion, for sure, so.
I also think it's important, as, we receive input or we think about this conversation, to make sure we keep the two things in mind. One, do we want to change how the mayoral role actually functions, the voting, non-voting? That's one sort of thing to examine. And the other is how the mayor is selected. I mean, if people are happy with how the responsibilities are currently delineated, but we just want to change the process, that's a separate discussion. So to make sure we don't impact one without thinking about how it would impact the other.
I mean, one of the things you lose, I think, if you have an elected mayor is, if you have a year when you have 4 people who are running for council and 2 of them are districts and 2 of them are at large, then you split out the mayor and say 2 previous council members who served run against each other for mayor. And so one of those, they might be both great council members and have a lot of support in the community, but one of them's going to lose. Whereas they could both win if you did not have an elected mayor. So it's just something to think about.
They could both win and be on the council.
Correct.
Okay.
They could both win and be on the council, and then one of them might be mayor or might not. But one of them is going to lose if they're running against each other for a seat that only has one seat.
That's a good point.
Okay, is there anything else in Article 2 at the present time that anybody would like to see addressed? We went through the charter initially with a pretty quick, broad brush. I didn't know if there's anything else right now that we needed to look at necessarily. Mr. City Attorney, did you have any comments?
I did. One item that I'll put forth for consideration, and as the chair has said, it's not something you guys need to decide tonight or anything, was in section 2.12 B and C under prohibitions. The nature of the prohibitions here are to make sure that city council is not intervening and or micromanaging staff. And in this case, they're outlining staff that's appointed by the city manager. Now, I think they identified the staff appointed by city manager because I would say probably 85 or 90% of all city staff has the city manager at the top of their chain of command. Well, that's also true, however, of the city attorney's office and the city clerk's office. The city attorney and the city clerk both hire staff. I would think the same principle would apply. Certainly, it is a whole lot less likely that it would be a problem. Maybe that's why those 2 positions were not included in this language. But since our staffs have grown to the point where I have 6 staff members in my office in addition to me, I think Kelly has an office of 4, including Kelly. And it seems like perhaps if the same principle, if this is a principled matter, then maybe the same principle would apply to those 2 offices as well.
I think that's a good point. So you would like to add some language then to that, Eric?
Sure, I could propose
Would
something
you do
for the
that
next meeting.
for
Sure.
us? Yeah, I think that makes eminent
So
sense.
so to clarify, the idea would be just as the council, we don't want the counselors interfering with those who report to the city manager. We don't want them interfering with those who report to the city attorney or the clerk.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there is some language in here already. And also, Commissioner Dunning had put some other information in last time, too, that she submitted. I was just noticing here that we didn't talk about last time from our last meeting minutes.
Did you address that the last time or not?
Well, I guess I'm not sure what Commissioner Kucera is speaking about, so I'm not sure I can answer
Yeah,
just
on
yet.
our May 14th submission from Commissioner Dunning under Article to section 2.12, she had added a D.
I thought he'd addressed that.
Sorry, did you say section 2.01?
It's Article 2, Section 2.12, and then she had added D as in dog.
Right, I didn't know if you'd addressed that or not at the time.
Let me take a quick look here.
That was about the library and the airport.
Yeah, and I think we just didn't get to it.
You're right, I don't think I did address that. Right, the same kind of principles apply. I was thinking in preparing my comments that I just made about whether to include the airport in the library. At present, the airport has only one employee, and that's
Right.
the airport manager hired by the Airport Commission. The library enjoys some protections in, I want to say, Chapter 336, such that it could always be more clear, but I think there's already some statutory protections preventing council from interfering with the library staff. But
That's what I thought.
I would certainly want to hear what Commissioner Craig has to think about that, having spent quite a bit of time in that role.
Not that that's a controversial issue these days at all.
Thankfully not in this
I was about to
city.
say in a lot of other towns, but
Yeah.
probably not here.
Yeah.
Well, if you could get back to us on that and see
Sure.
if it is necessary to have that language
Sure.
for that.
Yeah, I think we just had gotten deep into the districts, and then
Right.
we just didn't get there, and then I meant to say something last time to Eric as well,
Correct.
so.
Okay.
Thanks, Eric.
Very good. Anything else?
Yeah,
And
may I
as to the library thing, I just think in that C, where it says, "A council member may not interfere with the supervision or direction of any person appointed by or under the control of the city manager," I think that's where you were talking about possibly noting the city attorney and the city clerk as well. I just think, if you put the library director in there, that would satisfy me.
Sure. Right, in
Because
section.
it feels like that's the blanket statement and there's nobody else. And there are other people, as you point out.
Yeah. It's sections B and C too, both under 212,
Right.
make reference to that same kind of principle.
Right.
Okay.
Do you
Anything?
get into any issues with, because the council still has budgetary authority over,
Right,
Both of those.
yeah,
Sure.
so like,
exactly right.
But over the
Right.
city
how do you,
clerk,
I
city-
mean, you may not be able to quote interfere, but you certainly have say at the end of the day on the
One has the
revenue.
power of the purse strings.
Power of the purse.
So you
Right.
want to make sure that's, I'm not saying acknowledged, but at least thought through as you go through and
Yeah,
change things.
right. Yeah, that's, I would say, kind of a mid-level of control. That is the power, I shouldn't say mid-level, obviously, having the power of the
Yeah,
purse
we
strings
talk
are pretty
about
significant.
them very
But,
briefly.
I'll testify to that.
right. But it would be a whole nother level to have a council member pick up the phone and call Ashley and say, hey, Ashley, do this. Well, Ashley doesn't work for you. Ashley works for, Kelly Grace, and we don't want council members calling Ashley, directing Ashley what to do.
Right.
Well, and the reality is, if something happened with a staff member and the council were up in arms over it,
Right.
they would be able to say to, for example, the city
City manager.
deal with this, or your longevity is question mark. I mean, it's just,
Yes.
that is the reality. Same with the city attorney office, same with the city
Yeah.
clerk's office.
Right.
So
If we had an elected mayor, we could just tell the mayor to deal with it.
That's what you don't want. That's what you don't
Unless
want.
it's the mayor
That's
asking
what
for
you
the
don't want.
special consideration.
Right, but that's
Too much
exactly.
power vested in a single individual.
Yeah.
That's exactly the language that ends at the end of section B. However, the council may express its views to the city manager pertaining to the appointment or removal of
Right.
such employee. Like,
Such a polite.
I think you should think hard about your staff member.
Okay, anything else under Article 2 right now?
I have a question, sorry. I wasn't here last time.
Sure.
And I just asked a question on Section 2.08. Could you please, E, the council shall fix the amount of compensation if any person is appointed. Actually, thank you for clarifying Section 2.12B, because I had question about that. Is the city council, our city council, the one that also hire city employees, or it's just the city managers? Manager because here it says, all appointment and promotion of city employees by city council and city manager must be made according to job-related criteria. I don't know if it's the words, the language with the the amount. Is there anything else?
Well,
that can be
to answer the
used?
first part of your question, which maybe is the only actual question you're asking, is the city council hires directly 3 people: the city manager, the city attorney, and the city clerk. And the city council also fixes the compensation for those 3 employees.
I
Those are the
see.
only contract employees. Those are the only employees that the city council hires, fires, and sets salary.
Okay, makes sense now. Because
Sure.
when it says the 3, I didn't know if it was everyone. Thank you,
Sure.
appreciate it.
Okay, Bijou, okay?
Yes,
Good.
thanks.
All right, anything else? Let's go to item number 5, discuss the summer schedule. I've just got some suggestions, and I'd certainly like everybody's input. My suggestion is that the month of August, we take the month of August off, if that works for the council, for the rest of the commission. I think that's vacation time for a lot of people, if that works for everybody. June and July, we can start to maybe get our proposed draft of our charter, and then in September, we can have public hearings. Because first of all, this commission is statutory for 1 year. I don't think we'll need a full year, in my humble opinion. I think we can get the work done, and we can get it to the council in the first of the year as a preliminary draft, and then they can respond to us. If that would work for everybody, because when you get into November and December, you're talking more holidays. So if we can really get this thing on the way by September to have public hearings, and then eventually form what we are going to send to the council. Does that appear to work with everybody?
What do you mean by September to have public, what do you mean by public hearing?
Well, what we've talked about having is having like a public hearing, say at the library, to get people's input.
Okay.
Once we come up with a proposed document, then we'd like to have the public's input.
Oh, great idea.
And obviously, during this whole time, we would absolutely like to have the public's input. We're not hearing from many people, I don't think. A lot of people aren't probably aware of what we're doing.
So once we have the proposed to public hearing and then we hear their opinion, do we come back again, or?
That's right. It'd be a preliminary, and then we'd come back and formulate our final, what we would like to send to the council for their review.
Makes
Okay?
sense. Thank you.
What we understand from some of the previous charter commissions is they did this with the public input at the library after you had a final draft done. And it was a great way. People came and gave him input, and it was a good way to get the community more involved.
It's a good
So,
idea.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Okay?
July 9, I mentioned this before, I'm not available, so I'm wondering if we could.
Yeah, let's go to the schedule, item 6, and we're going to have, our next meeting is going to be Monday, June 17th, and then Thursday, June 27th. And I would definitely like to, Matt, as your request, I'd like to see if we could change the July 9th meeting, if that would work. Because in these next few meetings, I would hope we could get everybody here, the whole commission. So what is everybody's schedule?
July is probably about the best month of the year for me, so.
Okay. So what about,
Then the week following that, I'm not available.
Oh, wait, so let's start, is June okay with everybody?
Is June 17th and June 27th? Is
Yeah,
that,
that's-
okay.
Yep. Yes.
All right, those are good. Now, we need just July then, and Matt, what time in July, and let's say the week of, or are you just going to be gone the 9th, or
I am gone the 9th.
what about Thursday, the 11th?
No, I'm gone all that
That
week
week,
and part
okay.
of next.
Well, then maybe we could do the next week.
Then Susan's gone.
Susan, you're gone the next week? Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm gone.
So,
Maybe we just cancel the 9th?
We could just
I'm
do the
gone the
20.
25th.
Let's just do the
Oh, you're gone the
25th.
25th?
I'm gone the
Oh,
25th.
geez.
July might end up being actually the vacation. By August, I'm back in town getting kids ready for school.
I was going to say, August is wide
Well,
open.
it's up to you. I'm throwing that out there. If you all wanted to do August, I'm fine. I was trying to, August seems to be vacation for many, but I'm flexible.
July might be
Work.
more vacationing.
Vacation.
I'm back working in August. Once the
Okay.
students hit town, we get the piles of
Sure.
voter registrations.
Okay. Well, then if you desire, we can do August instead, we just cancel July if that's your pleasure. Does that work for everybody?
Sounds more like where people are at.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm totally, Mr. City Attorney, you're good with that?
Sure. No, it's at the commission's approval, or
Okay.
discretion.
For August dates, to make sure those work for everybody then. Because we have August
So, let's
13th
see.
and 22nd are the dates I have for us, according to what I've written here.
So what, with the August 13th and the 22nd, tentatively, should we put those in? Okay,
And they are back-to-back weeks, but that's just because of how the weeks fell that month.
I have a work conflict on the 22nd, but I can't.
maybe we could go the following week.
The 29th, I
Would
would be
that-
available.
Would you be available then? Would that work for everybody?
No, August 29, I'm gone, sorry. August 27, I'm available.
Well, maybe we could do then. Could we, 13th and the 27th?
That would work.
I'm good.
If that, I know this room, maybe that changes the availability
check
of this
that.
room.
We'll need to double check that, but of course.
Okay, yeah, just, we'll talk about it at the next meeting.
Yeah.
That's fine. That'll work, so.
But tentatively, the 13th and 27th, if there is room availability on the 27th.
Yes.
Does that sound right, Eric? Is that-
I'm sorry, I missed what
We're
you said.
just confirming August 13th and 27th based on availability.
Yeah, the
Okay.
13th should be fine because
It's already
follows the
booked.
scheduling convention that we've
Yep.
already got.
Okay.
But Ashley and Ashley indicates she'll
Okay.
take a look at the other
And then
one.
we would cancel the 22nd. Okay, all right, thanks.
And then would
Okay.
you dispense with July altogether?
Yes, that's, I think, the
I mean, the
consensus.
other option in July is there is that fifth Tuesday in July, so the council won't be meeting in this room on that day, the 30th. And so I don't know if people are back from,
I'm back by the 30th. I
I'll
could-
be
I'm
around.
back by the 30th.
I could do either that or the first day of the 30th, or Thursday, the 1st of August.
Whatever, what is your pleasure? I'm very flexible on that.
I'd rather have schedule it than if we don't need, I mean, I feel like if we're going to have something ready by September,
July 30th, do we want to pencil that in?
I like that, yeah.
August 1st is my wedding anniversary, so I don't think I better do that. That
We're
might,
not scheduling anything for
July 30th.
September 14th.
hey, she probably, when you were mayor, you couldn't say, honey, it's your anniversary, but I'm busy.
I made sure we didn't have things.
Oh,
that
did you?
Yeah.
See what the mayor has power over?
Very limited. Very
When it comes to anniversary.
limited. Okay,
We're canceling all of July except for the 30th.
we're going to put the 30th in, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah, good
That's
idea.
excellent. All right.
Yeah, that we were going 4 weeks without a meeting, but not 6 weeks without a
Right.
meeting.
Right.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Agreed. Okay, item number 7, community comment. Now is the time for anybody who wishes to address the commission. Step forward and please give your name.
My name, Dean Abel. The discussion about meeting times was a little confusing to me. Do I understand that the tentative schedule is to meet Tuesday, June 11, Monday, June 17?
No, June 11th is out.
Oh, I understand that. This is why thank you.
Yes,
So the next meeting will be June 17,
correct,
and the meeting after that, June 27.
correct,
Yes.
And then tentative, July 30,
correct,
August 13, and August 27.
correct.
Pending room availability.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I
Thank you,
got.
thank you very much.
you're welcome.
No, we're not supposed to.
It's hard to, how many people are on the commission?
9.
9.
It's a wonder there are any days at all where everyone is available. Hey, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you being here.
Anybody else wish to address the commission? Look at that. We're ready to go. Item number 8, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Bijou.
Seconded.
Seconded by DeRue. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.